The last 12 months have been tough for so many in the small business community. And now that things are starting to look up just a little bit, we'd be remiss if we didn't try to collect our thoughts and consider lessons that we learned during that time. Well, on today's show, we have one of the most important leaders in our community on the air to reflect on the last 12 months and give us an update on the state of live music and the world as it begins to open up. Our guest is Sarah Smith-Pancheri, the Chief Operating Officer of Summerfest, the world's largest music festival. Welcome to Idea Collective Live, the official weekly meeting of small business owners everywhere. I'm your host, Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. We want to thank our sponsors, of course, because they're amazing. Bank 59, Quick Trip, Serendipity Labs, and of course, everybody in the Idea Collective collaboration community for small business owners. Now, this show is interactive, as you well know. If you have questions, comments, or sarcastic remarks, they are welcome and encouraged inside the chat, and we will work them into the show as we can. After our interview, of course, we'll hang out for the Quick Trip networking after party so we can meet everybody, greet maybe some people you don't know, and make some new connections during the show today. So our guest today is one of my favorites in town, Sarah Smith-Pancheri. She's been part of Summerfest for a long time, and she's now the Chief Operating Officer of the world's largest music festival. This is a thing. Sarah, it's so great to see you. How have you been since last time we talked?
Well, I mean, you flatter me with saying all the nice things. It is great to see you too, Pat. I would say, like anyone who is managing through this, I mean, there's definitely been some difficult moments. I mean, that goes without saying, but there's been some great moments as well with my family. And so we're all safe and well, and I'm really thrilled to be on the other side. It seems like the other side of the pandemic. So we're not quite there yet, but we're very optimistic for 2021.
And that optimism really fuels us right now. But I do want to set the scope of the interview today. We're excited to have that feeling of normalcy walking through Summerfest with or without, let's be real, a cold one, and seeing the music everywhere and the people, and just it's going to feel so good. But let's be real. It would be super unfair to pepper Sarah with a bunch of questions about, hey, so what's going to happen this year? Because the pandemic conditions are changing, and there's just a lot that we don't know. So I may ask a question or two about how the festival structure has changed, because it has. It's going to look different structurally than it did last time we had it, and some new upgrades, some new stages and such. But we're not going to get into specific questions about social distancing or other pandemic stuff because it's just too far in the future. So with that, let's start here. The festival was canceled, of course, in 2020, and this year it's moved on to September of 2021. Independent of what happened to Summerfest, what is the state of live music right now?
Oh, well, and I would never purport to be an expert, but certainly I can express our little corner. And I would tell you that the artists are excited to play. I think universally there's a strong desire from both artists as well as fans to get back out there and see live music. So we all know that there's that feeling when you're in front of your favorite artist that you just can't, no matter how close or how much you watch an artist via Zoom or a streaming platform, it's just not the same. And so I think universally we're all looking forward to that. The vaccine rollout has been very encouraging, in particular, on Wisconsin. Way to go, guys, and getting out there and getting it done. And so that's a really important part of what it looks like. But I mean, Polestar estimated that we lost $9 billion last year as a concert industry. So that sort of disruption is going to take quite some time to recover from. And everyone is hanging in as much as we possibly can. There's about 3,000 independent venues in the United States that are really working to get back to normal as quickly as possible. But of course, safety for artists, for fans, for employees, that's all the priority. So I would say the state of the industry is earnest in trying to get back to what we can call normal, but that everyone's really dedicated to doing it safely, and that's top to bottom, up and down, both ways. From our perspective, we are looking forward to hosting the world's largest music festival in September. But as you said, if anyone has a crystal ball on the call, we'd love to take a look at it. Any crystal balls available, we'd love to
Yeah.
see you. But we're all just being really attentive to the health department, and I think the Brewers have done a beautiful job getting back to what they could. And the last week, of course, the Bucks. I mean, everyone's doing the best they can.
So let's talk about outside of the cancellation. Let's look at some other changes. And I do want to ask about going to weekends and the new structure of the festival, but let's talk about other big picture upgrades and changes that have happened on the Summerfest grounds, because there's some big ones since last time we were there.
Yeah, so that's what's been really quite amazing about this whole shutdown in 2020. And it was so, as anyone who's been to the festival can appreciate, it was such a, you work so hard for the intrinsic reward of watching the festival come together, and people enjoy live music, and seeing people from the community get their first jobs, and that was all missing, which was difficult. But what wasn't missing was the fact that the amphitheater was being completed. So we had a 2-year, $51 million project to completely redo the American Family Insurance Amphitheater. That was going on, and we were finishing that. We also announced a really exciting partnership with Northwestern Mutual, where the children's area, which will now be the community park, that was demolished and is being completely rebuilt. We also will be introducing Generac Power Systems as a new stage sponsor. So while we were managing through the pandemic and trying to figure out how to maintain our organization and manage through what will now be the 4th time booking the festival, there was June 20, September 20, June 21, now September 21. We had all these really great capital improvements that I know the fans will enjoy once they're able to enjoy them this summer.
Now, the new amp, the new main stage, has a ton of big upgrades. Can you tell us what we can expect when we get in there? Because you didn't just redo the bathrooms. Like, this is a really big thing that you did to the amp.
Yeah, so I mean, I would tell you, for a building that lived on the corner of Lake and Lake, it lived basically right on top of Lake Michigan, and faced all those elements, and really hadn't received an overhaul since 1987. So when you think about that, and anyone that had been to a concert, we just, there was an opportunity that we needed to address, and we're fortunate enough with American Family, and several, probably about 100 donors plus Milwaukee World Festival. We all came together and invested $51 million in this property. So what does that mean for the fan? That means all new food and beverage that's accessible on every single concourse. That means new concourse space, so the queuing will be easier. All new seats, new sections. We lifted the roof. And now we can fit anything that right. I know. And like the fact that Lionel Richie played in the year that we, with Raise the Roof and Have Some Fun, that was around quite a bit. But I mean, really, it is an entirely new building. Really importantly, accessibility was a priority. In 1987, there just wasn't the ability to, well, I shouldn't say there wasn't the ability, I wasn't there, but there really wasn't the amenities that now we have to offer, which includes an elevator, which includes different grades to our ramps, more accessible seating. It was a total overhaul, and we could not be more excited to share it with everyone come September, and actually come August, hopefully, assuming we're back in business.
Fingers crossed.
So it's gonna, and just beautiful city views. I mean, the Hone Bridge, the skyline, the lake, it's such an interesting piece of property that we've been able to amplify and enhance. So we're thrilled with how it turned out.
The Light the Hone project is an understated upgrade to what's going to happen down in that area, because it adds so much character to the Third Ward and the area. It's going to be beautiful. And if I remember correctly from my radio days, when you announced the upgrade to the amp, isn't the raising of the roof making it easier to bring in the bigger time festivals or concerts, rather? Like, the people that are bringing major rigs now have the infrastructure that they need to put up what they put up inside a Fiserv Forum kind of building?
You bet. I mean, anything that would come to Fiserv Forum, Amphitheater Field, Alpine Valley can be produced at our facility. So it was interesting. There was a band that we had booked, and it was a band that had never played in Wisconsin before, and we were really excited about it. And it was going to be a great coup for the festival, right at the time that we were looking at what we were going to do, because a $51 million project for our nonprofit organization is a very significant endeavor. But in the scale of new facilities, I mean, $51 million doesn't get you very far. We really had good bones to work with, and so we were trying to make difficult decisions about what we would do where, and this band was signed. Back to this band, and they were signed, and the production folks got a hold of our tech documents and said, there's no way this band can play there's just there. And we were contemplating raising the roof, and that pushed the decision over the edge. So anything that plays anywhere else in the state can now play at the American Family Insurance Amphitheater. So we're thrilled.
Exciting.
Yeah, and I think you'll see that in the bookings, because as I said, the industries, we're ready to get back at it.
Don't tease me now. Don't start talking about bookings, because now I'm going to want to know. We're talking with Sarah Smith-Pancheri, COO of Summerfest. It's really great that she's here. We're talking about some of the upgrades that are on the festival grounds. In a moment, we're going to start talking about how she led the organization through the pandemic, because that was not an easy task. But I do want to stay on the festival just for a second, because there is a significant change to the structure of the festival. Instead of being consecutive, it's now going to be spread across a couple of weekends. Can you talk about what the structure is and why you did it?
You bet. And I can attest, and I think I see my former colleague, John Bowler, on the call. And I know that he would be familiar with this idea, because it was around, in terms of just how do we maximize what we do along the 11 days of Summerfest at the time. And I really, I take this moment to reflect on how unique what we do here in Milwaukee is compared to a lot of other events. And we're so fortunate to have this tradition called Summerfest that's been stewarded by so many fans and just so many people over the years. At the same time, most festivals that are operating, and there's so many that have been operating for the recent past, they tend to put more nationally known talent throughout the day. And so that was an opportunity, a programming opportunity. We always look to say, okay, how do we do that in a way that makes sense for our festival? Still giving local bands an opportunity to play, still maintaining, we joke, I mean, we're 8 to 80 for anyone involved. I mean, you're all involved with small business, the marketing plan. You never want 8 to 80, because that's, of course, everybody. It's a very difficult marketing plan to execute. So, how do we maintain who we are while enhancing the festival by offering more national talent? Fast forward to the pandemic, and I can tell you, I mean, year over year, losing the kind of revenue that we lost, it was time to look at everything really, really carefully and make sure that we were maximizing every dollar that we invested. And so the product of long meetings and the impact of the pandemic, and resurfacing plans that had been considered in the past, and for whatever reason didn't come to fruition, it really felt like the right time to invigorate the festival by moving it from 11 consecutive days, or 12, taking Monday off, into 3 weekends, where we're able to take the resources that would typically have been spent on days that were not as popular, and put those resources through booking against days that we know will do the business, which, as anyone in entertainment would tell you, you're probably going to get more people to come out on a Friday night than a Sunday night. That's how it's been. It's why restaurants are closed on Mondays, right? Everyone, has a hard time getting folks earlier in the week. So we believe it's going to be great, not only for fans in Milwaukee, but fans outstate, fans from Chicago. It's certainly going to support, great lineups as we open up the booking window to another weekend. Of course, the bands need more time to get through. And so we just couldn't be more excited about it. It's going to be a change, but it's an exciting change for us.
And I'm not sure if you said this exactly, but being 3 weekend days and 3 consecutive weeks, do you think the average talent, like bigger bands, will be able to play because it'll have more weekends to choose from rather than, "Hey, we've only got these 2 weekends. Now we've got 3 weekends to choose from," when it comes to routing and going through Chicago or Detroit or whatever it might be?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, I think that just that extra week opens up more opportunities, and so we're able to, balance all sorts of the multi-genre nature of our event, more bands. We'll be able to put more national talent on throughout the day,
Mhm.
which you're gonna see a band that you that maybe would have in the past been a more local band. We're going to be able to add more talent to those days as well. So it's
That's
exciting.
brilliant.
Yeah.
So exciting, and I'm fighting every urge that I have to grill you for Summerfest questions because I love your festival. But I do wanna ask one more question before we get to some of the, things that you learned leading the organization through the pandemic. I do wanna ask, you mentioned there are a lot of other festivals out there. This is the world's largest. This is our signature event. What are some of the challenges that you're facing to keep the festival competitive and keep it growing moving forward into the future? Because as the COO, that's your thing. So how are you doing that, and what are some of the challenges you face?
Yeah, I think there are opportunities. We really have an opportunity to, as I mentioned, and I would always preface anything with, there's a great group of people here. This is not the Sarah Pancari show by any stretch of the imagination. And it's certainly not me that is doing this alone. There's a great group of people. But in terms of remaining competitive, I think it really does come down to the product. And we've taken a step to change things up and offer more talent, which we know is one of the reasons why people love to come here.
Mhm.
I think an opportunity certainly is with the digital platforms that we have available to us. There's a huge opportunity to be, even more surgical with marketing opportunities, as well as really focus on being responsive to our fans with regard to the type of music they're ready to see. And then finally, and I don't know how anyone else on the call would feel about it, but as we come through COVID and we come through 2020, I do think that the experiences and the brands that have some time behind them will certainly, my sense is that we'll have the opportunity to reestablish ourselves in a way that'll be relevant to people as they seek to go back to whatever your normal is. I do think there's a very fierce and exciting opportunity to connect with people when they've had the experience with your brand in the past.
Yeah, well, everyone's excited to see it again. So let's shift gears here and talk about you as a leader and trying to get the organization through what happened last year. So you have the AMP under construction, you've got a new partner on one of your stages, you've got all these changes coming structurally, and the pandemic gets dropped on you as well. So with all of these changes going on, I mean, that's really going to test someone in your position. So reflecting back on it, what was the biggest surprise that you had going through all this?
I think the biggest surprise was, we really we really came together as a team. I mean, I think that is one of the when you work in a business where the staff and the team really fundamentally care about the product and about what the experience, in our case, the experience that you're providing for the public and for everyone involved. It was really the nature of, I mean, to the person, it was, what can I do? What can I do? And then when that extended, and maybe that's a unique trait to Milwaukee. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's just something that we're really good at here. But it was, how can I help? What can I do? And that really, I think that fueled everyone on our team, beyond just the, okay, this is feeling really out of control. But every time there was I'll reflect upon, once we had a direction as a team, no one could stop us. And I think the most challenging thing, and I'm sure everyone on the call can relate, was not knowing, what are we going to do? What is this going to look like? Are we going to be healthy and safe? And then once there was okay, unfortunately, we have to make the decision. We're going to move to September. I mean, that decision, I have to tell you, we made it, and it broke a little earlier than we hoped it would. So it became I mean, I think our 6-year-old, she may have, she may have eaten Cheetos and licorice that night. I mean, I was like, just, are you okay? Is there a television that can distract you? Great. You
Yeah.
just go do that. Because once we had a direction, it was no one could stop us. And also how much we really want the festival to come back in a place where everyone can enjoy it and enjoy the continued tradition. So I would say that despite all of the tumultuous nature of 2020, I think that there really is a team here, and in my experience, a team that can come together and get anything done that they want to.
Because of my background, I've had the pleasure to work with a lot of people in your organization. And while nobody owns Summerfest, you personally, you really like, this isn't a job. So when you had to cancel it twice in the last 12 months, how did that affect you? How did that feel? That had to have been really, really hard. I know you were looking out for the fans, and I get all that, but personally, that had to just been like horrible.
Well, I mean, so the way that I look at this role, and I think a lot of folks around here do, is that this is a privilege of a gig, right? I mean, it's a really wonderful opportunity. We believe in what we do. How did it feel? You know, I think you worry about the people that aren't working, the people that aren't going to have opportunities, and so I'm someone that as difficult as it was for me, there's other people that are in a different position because we couldn't move forward. There's 2,100 people that we weren't able to hire. So I'm not, I mean, I'm certainly disappointed, but it was really more about what we couldn't do as a collective. I think I will say I was probably most just how Milwaukee was so poised for success. And then what just the successive sort of changes that happened last summer, that was hard for me, because I want our community to shine. And so that was difficult. But I will say I walked the heck out of a dog. I mean, yep, I walked the heck out of a dog, just walked it off.
Yeah. So going through all this, did you have any learning lessons for yourself, like blind spots that got revealed, or like, I better bone up on that because I really didn't realize I needed some help there? Anything that kind of stuck out looking back on it?
Yeah. I would say that, and I don't know if this is anyone else's experience, but the pandemic, in my experience, it accentuated the things that we're really good at and maybe really showed some of the things that we're not. And so for me, that was patience. To be in a situation where there truly is no answer, and no matter how many ways I try to get there, it's really just turning my own wheels. And I'm sure that as business owners, I'm sure that's something that everyone can relate to, because you're always trying to, I would imagine, trying to move things forward. And so for me not to be able to move things forward, I recognize that there's some things that are just, time is the answer, and that's not an answer I wanted to hear. So I think really learning to manage my own pace, because you can burn out pretty quickly if you're just always on to the next thing to try to figure out the answer when there truly was no answer. I would say that was my blind spot that I didn't recognize until probably fall. So I'll tell you a story. It's things like, there was we had a Girl Scout cookie stop this past couple weeks, and I gotta tell you, as an event planner, I planned the heck out of that. I mean, it was like, so what you realize is you channel your energy to these other little things, and these Daisy Scouts are looking at me like, lady, you gotta calm down. I was like, no, you're gonna sell those cookies. Got your script, Emily?
What is Imagine Dragons doing here? We're just selling cookies. What?
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So as we move forward to September, the new showtime, do you feel like you're planning 4 festivals now because you really want this one to go well? And is it jacking up your work-life balance at all as you try to make sure that this one's really, really good?
Well, I mean, we really try to make them all great, and so I think that was the kind of the wheel, the hamster wheel. I would say that the energy is the same. From my own personal perspective, the hopefulness that we currently have, I think, is feels different,
Mhm.
and so the I think that we're the work-life balance question, and anyone that's we've been fortunate to have been in school safely, and like I said before, we're very fortunate to not our immediate family has not been impacted by COVID. um, but I feel for any parents that are working from home, because the time that I did that was really challenging, and I think explaining, particularly kids that are younger like ours, to not be able to engage with them the way that you normally would on a weekend day. That was personally a big challenge for me, because there were a lot of questions. And so the work-life balance, I think, is really, we'll all establish a new version of that as we come out of this. Um, but it's the struggle to juggle. I mean, I think that around here I have a theme, and that's in 21, keep it simple and assume good intent. Because I
Mm.
think there's a lot of people that are struggling with things that we can't see, we don't know, but they're doing their best. And so I sometimes give myself that grace as well, because I don't think I don't think I've been perfect throughout this at all.
Well, it's great. Thank you so much for taking the time. We have a few questions from the group, and I've been looking through them, and I don't think they're going to be anything you shouldn't be able to handle as far as forward looking. I mean, we don't know when it's going to be there, but like, what's one of the changes that we've talked about that you as a fan you're really excited about?
So twofold. One, as a parent, I'm very, very excited about the Northwestern Mutual Community Park. It's an area of the grounds that we have not been able, that we had not previously been able to really address. And we'll have a family services building where there'll be family restrooms. We'll have a nursing mother stations. We'll have brand new stage, brand new equipment. So personally, as a fan, I'm extraordinarily excited about that, because I think the investment there will match what we've done throughout the whole grounds. I mean, over the past 15 years with Don Smiley's leadership, we've invested $150 million into this park. I mean, it's an extraordinary accomplishment. So that's a really wonderful thing to be back, back at it with 21. I will also say that the amphitheater, I can't wait for people to see it. It's just a gorgeous venue. It'll feel new, and I'm really excited to see live music again. So that would be the amphitheater and the Northwestern Mutual Community Park.
Oh man, live music in the amp is going to be a thing. We've got one more question that we're going to try and get in, and I think it's something that I believe I know the answer to. But can you explain the choice between Thursday, Friday, Saturday as opposed to Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Sure. It really is based on data that we have in terms of how we've worked in the past. Sundays, and I think what's really hard about change in this case is that everyone had their favorite day or favorite thing. None of that changes. It just needs to go to a different day. And Sundays were a challenging day for the festival when compared to Thursdays. So it just is really about our business model and being able to be as successful as possible. I mean, again, the impact of 20 and the total closure of the park, has some pretty significant consequences for our organization, in particular because we had committed $10 million of our own funds to help fuel the amphitheater's redevelopment. And so, and that was done before anyone had imagined that a pandemic would impact us in 2020. So it really had to do with where we saw the best opportunity based on past results.
I'm personally so excited to come back down there. It's so great to talk to you again, because just talking to you means I'm talking about Summerfest, and that feels like normal. I can't believe you gave us all this time. Thank you so much for coming on. Sarah Smith-Pancheri, COO of Summerfest. It's great to see you again, my friend. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Pat.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. Boy, I told you that was going to be good. I told you that was going to be good. So now I'm ready for Summerfest. I don't know about you, but I'm also thirsty for a Miller Lite for some reason. I have no idea why. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to hang out on the call here in just a little bit for our quick trip after party networking. And it's exactly like it sounds. We're going to have a discussion, reflecting the things that we learned from Sarah, maybe break out into some small groups and do some networking and meet some new people because your business is only as powerful as your network. And that's what we are here to do. Also, if you're not a member of the Idea Collective community, you can now get 1 year free from our friends at Bank 59. Their generous support of the community is helping us do big things. Get your free year now. Go to bank59.com/Idea Collective, and you can register for your free year. The other thing that happened that I'm really excited to share with you. Did you hear about the Pat Miller show? Did you hear about this? I launched a new show and I am so excited about this. We are helping small business owners one by one live without a net twice a week, Tuesday and Thursday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm taking calls from small business owners. And that means tomorrow at 1 o'clock on Clubhouse, I need some folks to help. So if you want some free laser coaching on the Pat Miller Show, it's very easy. Just go to patmillershow.com and click this really cool form that Susie Moon made for us, where you can give me your information and pick the day you'd like to appear on the show. And we'll bring you on Clubhouse. We'll do a little coaching live on the air. And hopefully I can take the things that I've learned and I can help you out as well. So a big thank you to Sarah Smith-Pancheri from Summerfest for coming on the show. A shout out, of course, to Jennifer Buchholz for producing the call. She is the ultimate connector and my business BFF. And of course, thanks to Bank 59, Serendipity Labs, and our new partner, Quick Trip. What? They're awesome. Thank you, Quick Trip. We appreciate you. All right, we're moving on to the after party networking. Look for the Idea Collective YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe so you can see the playback of this show and all of our other shows. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea